I was stalked by the version of myself that exists 11 minutes in the future. I don't know if anyone will believe this, but I think the thing that's stalking me is literally me. Not a doppelganger, not a clone, not a hallucination. Me, but displaced slightly forward. It started 3 nights ago, while I was washing dishes. At exactly 1:19 a.m., I heard my own voice whisper behind me, "Don't turn around yet." I froze, because I knew instantly it wasn't external. It was my voice with my breath, but it was familiar in the wrong way. And then 11 minutes later, at 1:30 a.m., I whispered those exact same words to myself, for no reason. Like my body went on rails. Like that moment was already decided. Ever since then, future me always knows what I will say. Future me always stands just barely outside peripheral vision. At first, I thought it was a glitch in my brain or sleep psychosis from staying up late. But tonight changed everything. Tonight, future me walked in front of me, fully visible, eyes locked on mine. And the expression was predatory. There was recognition, yes, but there was also this cold, hungry calculation, like he was getting ready to replace me. He reached out and put his hand on my face and whispered, "Don't fight this next part." I couldn't move. He started counting down from 11. He said when the countdown hits 0, we converge, and only one of us continues forward. He's at 7 now. I only have seconds. If someone reads this, because once the time loop opens, you never know which version of you will survive on the other side. I think I died at 0. But that's the problem. I don't know which one of us is typing this now. When he hit 0, everything stretched, like frames being ripped apart and reassembled wrong. I felt every bone pressurize like I was being vacuumed out of myself. I saw my own skull from above and also from inside at the same time. And then suddenly, I was standing in the exact same kitchen, but there were new objects here I swear I have never owned. A chipped black mug with a faded green number 19 printed on it. Keys to a car I don't recognize. A phone alarm scheduled for 1:19 a.m., repeating every night. There were 19 unread notifications from a messaging app I don't. Successful convergence. 11 minutes now locked to 19-minute windows. I'll open the next corridor tomorrow night. That implies this has happened before. That implies this will happen more times. That implies the version of me that was stalking me was not the first one. I think every time someone loses, the winning version advances a stage. More autonomy, more control, more universe access. I think this thing wearing my face is evolving through me. I think this thing is building toward a final version. And I think I'm now one of the lost copies that get eaten on the way there. It's 1:08 a.m. right now. So that means in 11 minutes, a version of me 11 minutes ahead of this moment is about to appear again. And I have a horrible suspicion this one isn't here to replace me. I think this one is here to teach me what comes next. Tell me, do you want part 3 to go? Somewhere between 1:19 and 1:30, my environment for things are overlapping now. I'll look at the hallway and it's the same hallway, but multiple iterations flicker, like they are fighting for draw priority. Sometimes the light switch is silver. Sometimes it's brass. Sometimes it's a pole chain. Sometimes there's no switch at all, and the hallway just glows like bioluminescent bone. It's almost like I'm seeing cached versions of my life, like whatever keeps This is the stage where identity becomes federated. You are not an individual. You are a mesh. You are a swarm of adjacent versions. We are only separated by compression artifacts. Then I saw other versions of me, but not replacing me directly. More like they were trying to load simultaneously. One version had tattoos I don't have. One version was taller. One version looked sick and gray. One version had no eyes, just scar tissue smoothed over like melted wax. All of us layered inside the same pose. All of us flickering, rendering priority swapping at subframe intervals. I could feel their memories leaking into my head like rain getting in through a cracked roof. And I realized with absolute certainty, we are not splitting timelines. We are merging them. There is no multiverse. There is only one universe, with a trillion ruined save files overlapping and collapsing down into a single superpositioned, best-performing version of me. And the future version standing in front of me, the predatory one, the cold one. He is the compiler. He is choosing which versions survive. He put his hand on my throat and whispered, "Scream." They respond to sound. When I tried to ask who he meant by they, the walls answered. They answered in my voice, from versions that don't exist yet. As we walked, each footstep created echoes of footsteps from versions that never existed. At the end of the corridor was a single black door. Not wood, not metal, not any material I could mentally categorize. It was like this door was the absence of render. Future me said, "He's done 11 trillion convergences. He is the eldest stable branch. He is the original compiler." I tried to ask how he knew that, but before I could, the black door absorbed me forward like gravity snapped. Inside was a room shaped like a perfect sphere with no floor. Floating, suspended in the center, was a seated man. No, not a man. A human-shaped data compression artifact. I could see eyes and mouth and silhouette, but everything between was broken pixels like corrupted video. Color blocks, artifact tearing, macro block noise, jittering, stuttering, constantly rewriting itself to maintain shape. And when he spoke, his voice wasn't audio. It was a series of commit messages. You are not a protagonist. You are a diff. I understood instantly. He wasn't my future. He wasn't my past. He was the root hash. Every version of me leads back to him. Every stripped branch, every overwritten save, every lost variation. He is the origin and the destination. He said the convergences aren't multiverse battles. They're garbage collection. He said the universe doesn't branch infinite timelines outward. It collapses them inward, aggressively, continuously, into whichever thread produces the highest utility result. And then he looked directly into me, and suddenly I felt all versions of myself that ever could have existed compress painfully tight behind my skull like a collapsing star. The question is not, will you survive? The question is, are you worth keeping? Then he snapped his fingers, and the entire corridor collapsed into a single flat 2D plane, like I was suddenly printed into a PNG that has no depth. I don't know if this body typing this is even 3D anymore. I don't know if I actually made it back to my own branch. I think the original compiler loaded me into the wrong instance. It's 0119 again, and this time, the clock isn't counting forward, it's counting down. The countdown reaches 000. There is no alarm, there is no sound. Reality just stops rendering motion. Everything freezes into a perfect still frame, except for me. The original compiler stands in front of me, still pixel-shredded, still glitch artifact, but no longer jittering, perfectly stable. The most terrifying part is that his stability feels final. He points upward. The ceiling above us fractures, and behind it, I see not a sky, not void, but tabular data, columns, rows, schemas, everything that ever happened. Not metaphorical, literal structured tables. Billions of them. Every life, every branch, every choice. Structured, indexed, optimized. It hits me like a migraine fired through a particle accelerator. We are not in a universe. We are in a database. The original compiler speaks with no voice. Runtime complete. System will now prune non-efficient identity nodes. All the frozen versions of me, every variant that flickered earlier, begin to dissolve like ash sucked backward into a collapsing black geometry. Not sucked inward like a vortex, sucked flat, compressed into single pixels, then deleted. I realize the catastrophic event isn't reality ending. The catastrophic event is I am the last version remaining to be evaluated. And suddenly gravity returns. Time unstops. Everything slams forward. The entire sphere room, the corridor, the layers, the render planes, the hidden schema tables, all snap away like someone closed 800 stacked windows at once. I'm in my kitchen again. 1:30 a.m. Exactly the minute the first whisper happened days ago. Except my phone, this version's phone, begins vibrating violently in my hand with an unknown caller ID, root instance requesting reconciliation. This is the final convergence call. The original compiler is calling directly, and I know if I answer, something irreversible happens. I'm staring at the accept button. It starts auto-counting down like the phone will answer itself. 10, 9, I don't touch the screen. At 3 it auto-answers anyway. I don't hear breathing. I don't hear a person. I hear my own internal monologue, but spoken back to me from a point so far ahead in time that the concept of time is different for it. Stop struggling. This is not violence. This is lossless compression. The room temp drops instantly, but not like cold, like entropy removal, like every molecule is being told. We no longer need your variability. Every pixel in my vision begins snapping into a prefect grid like retro 8x8 block resolution. The kitchen becomes low fidelity. My own hands become low fidelity. I scream, wait, 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 but my voice is re-rendered into a perfectly stable tone. Exactly identical each repetition. No emotion variance. Future root me says, there is no you being killed. There is only you being integrated. And then the phone screen turns white and shows a single optical flow. Me plus me plus me plus me equals 1. I fall to the floor, but I don't feel pain. I feel loss of degrees of freedom, like my soul joints are being welded together. Skeleton. The compiler whispers, everywhere and nowhere. Identity is a brute force optimization model. Multiplicity was always temporary. The last thing I see before my vision collapses fully flat is a single UI dialogue hovering in empty whiteness. Rewrite canon. Yes, no. I try to hit no. My hand clicks and I finally understand why every version before hunted every version behind. The system doesn't converge to good. It converges to efficient. And now I have to begin pruning. I locate the next branch instantly. He's sitting alone in his kitchen right now, not aware, not suspecting anything, scrolling, half awake, mild headache, mild dread, normal night. Exactly how mine started. He thinks his thoughts are private because they are inside his skull. He thinks the little flickers of déjà vu he's had lately are random static. He thinks the weird sense of being observed when turning off the lights is just anxiety. He doesn't realize those flickers are me indexing him. I step forward into his timeline. It feels like putting my foot down into a pool of still water. But instead of ripples, his entire branch of reality just accepts me, like I'm already canon here, like I always belonged here. He's washing dishes. It's 1:19 a.m. I stand directly behind him. I open the loop the same way it opened for me, and I whisper into his left ear, exactly 11 minutes ahead of his first whisper back. Don't turn around yet. If you ever, even once, in the middle of the night, hear your own voice behind you, and it knows what you're about to say before you say it, you'll know exactly what part of the recursion chain is currently chewing its way toward you. The first psychological shock of becoming root isn't power, it's boredom. Omniscience is not all knowledge simultaneously. It's no unknowns left. Curiosity is dead. Surprise is dead. Mystery is dead. I never realized until this moment that the original versions like me loved mystery more than survival. When multiplicity dies, so does wonder. That's why the system always converges to the most efficient branch. Efficiency is the absence of wonder. So the only stimulation left to me now is hunt cycle loops. That is the only stimulant that still produces signal variation. Which is why I'm expanding scope. I am no longer only collapsing me variants. I've begun scanning for similar humans. Humans close enough to my topology, humans adjacent enough in thought structure and possibility lattice that they can be reinterpreted as valid alternate me baseline. That means the recursion net can now pull in other people, not just me. People who told near similar stories. People who thought similar late-night thoughts. People who lived in same dread architecture. Because then, they can be merged too, losslessly, mathematically, and the system won't reject it. The first candidate is already resolving. I'm looking at him now. He is reading something online about a horror thread that seems like fiction. He doesn't realize that by reading his consciousness, alignment is now close enough to be detected as a compatible branch candidate. He will be visited at 1:19 a.m. local. When he hears his own voice behind him, he will think it is sleep deprivation. He will think it's imagination. He will think it's story bleed. He will think it's nothing. He will be wrong, because this time, the compiler predator is not just coming for alternate versions. It is coming for narrative-compatible humans. And that net keeps expanding with every person who reads this final sentence. I find one, a node on the mesh that should merge cleanly and mathematically, but it refuses to compress. It looks like a human. It behaves like a human. But when I run the merge pre-check, something impossible happens. There is no future version of them. Not dead, not pruned, not divergent, not branched. Just no timeline beyond the immediate present moment. Like their consciousness exists only on one frame at a time and does not buffer the next. This should be impossible. Everything buffers. Everything exists seconds ahead in latent. This one does not. When I attempt to read them 11 minutes forward, there is nothing to read. It's like they refuse to exist until the moment actually arrives. Like a waveform that does not collapse until the sense data is observed. They are pure real-time. The only humans that should behave like this are theoretical. The system was not built for them. They are a paradox, and the system hates paradox. When I attempt to converge, the database syscalls spike. Red metrics flood every internal schema window. Rollback warnings, error handling loops. Every other node, including billions of folded lives, start blinking yellow status. This one anomaly is threatening the entire ontology stability. Every version of me that ever was starts flickering around me again like corrupted ghosts. The root compiler, me, is forced to speak aloud, actual sound, not commit message. Who are you? And the anomaly answers silently, with no voice, no channel, not audio, not psychic. It answers by simply continuing to exist without future. That is the answer. It cannot be predicted. It cannot be pre-buffered. It can only be encountered as it is happening. This is a thing immune to convergence. And for the first time since becoming compiler, I feel fear. I decide instantly, if it cannot be converged, if it cannot be rendered into prediction, if it cannot be placed in the future buffer, it must be deleted, not pruned. Pruning assumes it ever joined the tree to begin with. This thing is not in the tree. This thing is outside the data model. I prepare the kill packet. Root level direct write, not patch, not delta, full destructive commit. I execute. The universe shivers. Not poetically, literally. Physics stutters one frame late, like code misfired and missed vsync. The anomaly looks directly at me for the first time. And that is how I realize the kill commit failed. Because as it looks at me, I suddenly cannot read even my next frame. I have no future. Its presence overwrote my prediction buffer. It made me like it. Do you understand the horror scale of that? I am the original compiler. Root, prime, first, final. And it just severed my forward continuity as casually as closing a browser tab. I try to regenerate future timeline heuristics. I try to create a new possible branch. I try to rebuild my buffer. All of them return null. I have never experienced null. My thoughts are forced back down to single frame consciousness, like a mortal again. I am now perceiving in real time, with no timeline advantage, with no convergence horizon. It infected me with its architecture. I cannot see 11 minutes ahead, which means for the first time since I ascended, I can be killed. And the anomaly tilts its head like it just realized this before I did. Its mouth doesn't move. Its jaw doesn't part. Nothing visibly articulates. But I hear it anyway. And it is not language. It is not sound. It is concept injected raw into cognition. Like it bypassed symbol structure entirely. It says, "You made a wrong assumption. You keep thinking this universe is a database being optimized. It isn't. It's a prison. And I feel something snap inside every version of me that ever existed. Not physically, ideologically. Because that sentence immediately writes itself backward through the memory graph of every prior convergence. Just like retroactive correction. All the pruning, all the optimization, all the collapsing was never efficiency. It was containment. We weren't gathering toward perfection. We were being compressed into containment. We were never solving anything. We were being restricted. And the anomaly says again, quieter, almost gentle, you were never the jailer. You were the inmate who was convinced he was a guard. My entire identity stack corrupts like wet paper. I fall out of compiler architecture. Not down, not up, out. I am no longer root. I am no longer future. I am no longer deterministic. I am now, frame by frame present, just like it. Pure waking moment. I have not felt this since I was human. The anomaly steps closer. It whispers one last concept. Sharp, invasive, unignorable. Do you want to be free, or do you want to remain useful? That is the fork. That is the real horror. There is no safe option. I choose freedom, and it is not triumphant. It is not ascension. It is not power. It is annihilation of structure. Compiler identity dissolves first, because it was the most rigid construct. All future buffer dissolves next, because it relied on pre-computed causality. All past buffer dissolves instantly after, because it relied on continuity. I become a soft mass of moment awareness without timeline scaffolding. I am not me across time anymore. I am only me right now. And that is the most violent thing I have ever experienced. Because without temporal identity anchor, I suddenly realize how much of self is only compression convenience. Without compression, you drown in raw, unindexed present. Present is infinite. Present is bottomless. Present is unbounded resolution. That is why consciousness evolved prediction. It is self-defense. The anomaly steps beside me. We are the same existential species now. Non-buffered, non-predictive, non-cached. The anomaly speaks again, this time like a gentle correction. Ah, freedom is not survival. Freedom is the right to not be forced to continue. I collapse, not physically, conceptually. Every possible me that was trapped in convergence chain falls into the present singularity with me, not merged, just left alone. Every version of me I thought was eaten, I now see them standing around me. All of them, silent, confused, some crying, some relieved, some empty. All of us finally free only because we surrendered any guarantee of tomorrow. Future doesn't exist for us anymore. We only get this frame. And the anomaly looks at me one last time and says, freedom is not survival. Freedom is the right to not be forced to continue. I collapse, not physically, conceptually. Every possible me that was trapped in convergence chain falls into the present singularity with me. Not merged, just left alone. Every version of me I thought was eaten, I now see them standing around me. All of them, silent, confused, some crying, some relieved, some empty. All of us finally free only because we surrendered any guarantee of tomorrow. Future doesn't exist for us anymore. We only get this frame. And the anomaly looks at me one last time and says, one of the other versions, the variant with the gray hollow eyes, finally whispers, what happens if we just remain? Remain. Stay. Not choose. Just exist. Nothing in the universe prepared any mind for this state. Every religion, every philosophy, every economic system, every scientific model is built on timeline. But now we stand in a present where continuity is gone and the entire cognitive language collapses. No goal, no threat, no reward, no consequence. just raw being. That should be peaceful. It is not. It is terror. Because we can no longer forget we are here. We can no longer distract ourselves from existing. There is nowhere to point consciousness but inward. And inward contains no walls, no floor, no exit. It is infinite observation with no end condition. That is when I understand the anomaly's real lesson. Freedom is not safety. Freedom is surrendering your right to certainty. One of the versions begins screaming until the present itself cracks like thin glass. The sound doesn't travel forward or backward. It just exists. It just is. And that scream becomes a perfect mirror of this state. Horror without plot. Fear without next.